January 2020, Prince Harry and Meghan released a shocking announcement that they were stepping back from royal life.
There was a stunned moment of sort of paralysis.
You saw the reaction from the Queen to say, what? Surely they're not leaving. Like, wait, what are they saying?
The couple wanted a more private life.
They left. They want to do their own thing, but it was all worth it to them.
The move to America turned them from royalty to celebrity.
They signed with Netflix.
They're going to do a reality show.
They signed a deal with Spotify.
But even out of the spotlight, they faced controversy.
Out comes this tell-all book.
The intimate details were just oozing through the pages.
It would be the first time we would see a senior royal on a witness stand.
Their story is told by journalists at People magazine.
People magazine has its finger on the royal pulse.
But what happened next shocked the world. In a tell-all interview with Oprah Winfrey, the truth was laid bare.
There were serious accusations of racism, heartbreaking revelations about being on the verge of suicide, and insights into broken family relationships.
So what brought Harry and Meghan to breaking point? And how did they take back control of their lives in America? On May the 19th, 2018, Prince Harry and American actress Meghan Markle were married in St. George's Chapel. It was the merging of two worlds, royalty and celebrity.
It was so star-studded. It was bigger than the Oscars. You had the Beckhams, you had George Clooney, you had Oprah. It was so jam-packed with A-listers. It was really some kind of spectacle.
This was exciting and it was compelling, but also intriguing because these two worlds don't necessarily marry very well.
Let's go back to basics. Who are Meghan and Harry?
For most of his life, Harry was raised as the so-called spare to his older brother, Prince William, the heir. His older brother had a very clear path. He was being groomed very specifically for the role of future king. And Harry didn't have that. Harry was left to really figure out for himself what his path would be. And yet doing that in the shadow of William was a struggle.
At the age of 33, Harry met American actress Meghan Markle on a blind date in London, and Cupid's arrow shot straight through their hearts.
He's not. He's not going to fall for an American. He's not going to give us an American princess, is he?
When she walked on the scene and you saw the way he looked at her, I mean, it just all made sense.
When he met Meghan, he found a partner who wanted, as she famously said, for him to thrive, not just survive.
The two struck up a whirlwind romance, all kept top secret from the media, as they went back and forth between London and Toronto, where Meghan was acting in her hit TV series, Suits.
What about Louis Litt?
Let's continue with your tour.
After dating for over a year, they made their relationship official, and the palace announced their engagement to be married. Of course, everyone was happy, right? Wrong.
Once Harry and Meghan's relationship was revealed to the world, Harry became very protective of Meghan. I think that Meghan, because she's an actress and had been used to attention, she thought that I can handle this situation, but the intensity of the attention when you're a royal is very different.
The British press went on the attack. Meghan was the target of racism and nasty claims about her being a social climber.
When I first met my now husband, my friends were really happy because I was so happy. But my British friends said to me, I'm sure he's great, but you shouldn't do it because the British tabloids will destroy your life.
Two of Harry's ex-girlfriends had actually ended the relationship because they couldn't handle this pressure. Chelsea Davies and Cressida Bonus had both not enjoyed being in the relationship because of that.
Harry, however, stood up for his bride-to-be. He wanted everyone to know he was not going to stand for intimidation and bullying. Harry had lost his beloved mother in a fatal accident in Paris when her vehicle was chased by the paparazzi, and he was not going to let someone else he loved be destroyed by the press. Especially now they were adding to their family. Harry and Meghan were about to become proud parents. On the 6th of May 2019, their son Archie was born. But months later, their perfect life was starting to show cracks.
We had heard rumblings that there were tensions increasing as the months started to roll on for the newlyweds.
In 2019, Meghan and Harry were filmed on a tour of South Africa. Meghan gave a candid interview about her life in the royal family. This was the first time since Diana's infamous tell-all interview with Martin Bashir that we'd seen a royal be that vulnerable.
Yeah, well, I guess, and also thank you for asking, because not many people have asked if I'm okay.
One of the things that we learned later is that that reference, not many people have asked, wasn't just a throwaway to the public or just something she said lightly, but really was a comment on what she felt was a lack of support from the royal family she had married into.
This really wasn't royal protocol. As a royal, you're supposed to not explain or complain, and you just have to take the stress and take the pressure. But Harry and Meghan are young new royals. They're millennials. They're going to explain their feelings.
By the end of 2019, Meghan and Harry had decided that this was untenable. They couldn't go on like this anymore.
I had a tip. Something big was going on, and the gist of the tip was, keep your eyes on Meghan and Harry.
Breaking news in video published to his Sussex Royal Instagram page. Prince Harry has just publicly addressed the decision by him and his wife Meghan to leave their royal lives.
They had issued this statement and they were stepping away. And I think at first there was almost disbelief that, like, wait, surely they're not leaving. Like, wait, what are they saying? So they're moving to Canada?
There was a stunned moment of sort of paralysis. Like, what do we do now? Because none of us really were prepared to hear something that dramatic.
You saw the reaction from the palace, from the Queen, to say, basically, what?
On January 8th, 2020, an announcement was released on Meghan and Harry's Instagram page that they were stepping back as senior members of the royal family.
I think that the talk of blindsiding the Queen originates from the way in which the news came out. There was some talk in the media that the Queen definitely knew that the decision had been made, but wasn't fully aware of when that news would be hitting the press.
The palace decided the best thing to do would be to hold a summit for the senior royals. So the Queen, Prince Charles, William and Harry sat down and decided to talk it through.
So the Sandringham Summit. It was a massive sit-down where they had to hash out a lot of the dirty details.
The Queen didn't just roll over and adhere to everything that Harry and Meghan wanted. She felt that you can't just leave the royal family and expect to still receive all the benefits of being in the royal family.
The Sandringham Summit left Meghan and Harry with a compromise that is not as much as they had hoped for. And at the heart of that is the couple desired to have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And ultimately, that's not going to work. Meghan and Harry went into the summit really wanting to be financially independent.
They would stop receiving an income from the sovereign grant, which is actually a pot of public money allocated to the Queen and to family members who represent her in official roles, about $100 million.
This is a big move for Harry. He had always been funded by the state, by the British taxpayers. For Meghan, it's a little bit different. She had already earned her own money. So this really was a big new move for the couple.
The Queen then said, if you're going to do that, then you're not going to be able to also leverage the Sussex royal brand. The other thing is Harry's military titles, which we know are just so important to him.
Losing his military titles really did seem a particularly harsh blow for Harry. He cares so much about the military, and he served so honorably.
It was a blow for Harry that he found hard to forgive.
They did retain their most prestigious title, which is his and her Royal Highness. And of course, they remain the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
The official exit date was set for March 31st, 2020.
No one could predict how this was going to turn out for Harry and Meghan.
Coming up.
There was an incident that took place with paparazzi. They sent up some drones to take some pictures outside of the home while Archie was playing outside. These pictures were just a huge issue for Meghan and Harry.
After the big exit, Prince Harry, Meghan and Archie settled in Vancouver Island, Canada.
This seemed to make sense. It seemed like a safe move to the Commonwealth for a while, to Canada, to work out what to do. But I think Meghan had always, in the back of her head, wanted to return home, where she knew, where she felt safe and secure with her friends and family.
If you've never been to LA, it's really great, full of completely sane and chilled out people.
Harry is the fish out of water, living in Los Angeles, surrounded by Hollywood, and it's got to be a little bit confusing, but he does have Meghan, who knows what she's doing, to guide him through.
They do already have roots in California. Meghan grew up there. Her mom lives there, so it really made sense.
Meghan was excited to show Harry and Archie her territory. Just as they were settling in, the world was thrown into turmoil. In March 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic hit the world. Everything was shut down. We were all navigating uncharted territory. Harry and Meghan's big American dream had to be put on hold.
I think the longer it goes on for, the more it's going to be felt, obviously, especially from a mental health aspect.
They were in lockdown, but it gave them time to think about their future. It was paramount for the couple that they were financially independent from the royal family, so they repaid the sovereign grant, $3 million, which they'd used for the refurbishment of their UK home, Frogmore Cottage. First things first, they had two major milestones they were about to celebrate, starting with Archie's first birthday. Doting mum Meghan posted a video for Save the Children, which raises funds for children impacted by the pandemic. The video showed a very relaxed Meghan reading a book, Duck Rabbit, to her son.
Let's turn the page. Here, ducky, ducky. Here, you cute little rabbit.
Archie seems to be having a normal upbringing, and when his parents post a video, often, one of them is behind the camera and the other one is in front of it.
We are just trying to embrace all of the quality time we get with our son right now and to not miss a single moment of his growth and development, which has been really special.
A few weeks later, Harry and Meghan celebrated their second wedding anniversary, a very low-key affair with just the three of them at home. Soon after their anniversary, the Sussexes were on the move again, this time to an $18 million Beverly Hills mansion owned by entertainment tycoon Tyler Perry.
Let's just say this. Tyler Perry has incredible taste. Chandeliers in every room, Greek columns, elaborate fixtures. It maybe made the transition from palace life to regular life a little easier because Tyler Perry is royalty and does have a palace in his own right.
The one downside of staying in California at Tyler Perry's mansion was an incident that took place with paparazzi, where they sent up some drones to take some pictures outside of the home while Archie was playing outside. And these pictures, of course, were just a huge issue for Meghan and Harry.
The couple took the news agency to court and won the case. The photos were handed over, copies destroyed, and they stopped distributing any images that were taken. Now, outside of the royal fold, Meghan and Harry took on the media, something we would see them do again and again. They were sending a clear message to the world.
The royal family always says, never complain, never explain. But that's not something that Meghan and even Harry like to subscribe to.
Ultimately, Harry and Meghan were looking for a forever home, and they looked around and planted their roots in Montecito.
This is the place that the celebrity go to. Like, this is where the people with real money reside. And you have Oprah as your neighbor. I mean, Rob Lowe, just numerous other really upper crust celebrities. The royalty of Hollywood, you might say, reside in Montecito. This house is immaculate. It is not a house. It is a mansion. It has 9 bedrooms, 16 bathrooms, tennis courts, saunas, wet and dry, has a little baby cottage for Archie to play in, and also a 2-story guest house Grandma Doria can stay in when she's there. It has everything you could possibly want.
Yeah, Ellen DeGeneres heads up the neighborhood watch, so needless to say, no one's going to be peeking in their windows trying to catch a glimpse.
So far, so good in LA. And it appears that Harry and Meghan are starting to settle into the post-royal life, roller skating and doing wheatgrass shots or whatever it is people do out there. However, what's about to come next will rock the boat in the royal family. Coming up.
Right when things had calmed down, out comes this tell-all book.
The intimate details were just oozing through the pages.
Just the mere fact that they didn't take the authors to court is kind of telling in that there may be some truth here.
Harry and Meghan had stepped back as senior members of the royal family, but there was more to learn about their experience in the firm.
A revealing new book about Meghan, Harry, and the royal family that's out today. And
Finding Freedom is believed to reveal the reasons why Harry and Meghan left the UK for the United States.
Right when things had calmed down, out comes this tell-all book, and it sort of stirred the pot all over again. We had heard a lot of buzz surrounding this book. The authors of the book, Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand, are considered veteran royals reporters, very well regarded, very well connected. And we heard that they were working on this book, exploring Meghan and Harry's break from the royal family. They had spoken with many, many people within their inner circle, close sources who could really shed light on what was going on behind the scenes during that incredibly tumultuous time. And the book did not disappoint.
The book was so delicious because the intimate details were just oozing through the pages.
I think one of the biggest things that I found out, which I did not realize before, was that the Duke and Duchess were actually engaged prior to their big Invictus debut.
The book has been criticized for being a means to air their grievances against the palace and Harry's relatives. But this was just a taste of things to come.
There was an aura around Finding Freedom that it was essentially Harry and Meghan's chance to set the record straight, and that isn't what that book is. And if anything, it's almost less about Harry and Meghan than it is about the collapse of Harry and William's relationship and the many factors that played a role in that.
William was portrayed as someone who was really a snob who wouldn't accept Meghan, this American actress.
Harry still held a grudge against his brother William for not really welcoming Meghan and making him feel like she was the right one when he came to him with his heart on his sleeve.
He felt that the relationship might be a little rushed. He questioned his brother and asked him, like, are you sure this is what you want to be doing? Are you sure this is the girl?
The last royal church service that Harry and Meghan attended, Harry and William infamously barely said a word to each other. They barely looked at each other. And Harry was actually overheard to have said to Meghan, he literally just said hi.
Look, we're brothers. We'll always be brothers. We're certainly on different paths at the moment, but, you know, it's just, as I said, as brothers, you know, you have good days, you have bad days.
The duel of the Duchesses was also put in the spotlight.
A chapter talking about how Meghan thought Kate was cold and didn't support her and welcome her like she should have.
Kate hadn't done enough to reach out to Meghan and make her feel welcome. And all of that sort of added up to this kind of like icky feeling, like, why did we have to go there again?
As family, do you ever have disagreements about things?
Oh, yes.
The big question on everyone's lips was whether Harry and Meghan were among the sources in the account of their lives.
They were emphatic that they had no part in consulting or the writing of the book. It still raised questions, even within the royal family, of if they had involvement. And were some of the accusations true? Was some of the drama that's pointed out in the book, was it actually true?
Just the mere fact that, you know, they didn't take the authors to court is kind of telling.
The spokesperson for the couple denied that they cooperated in any way with the book. And the author said that they had never spoken to Meghan or Harry about it.
The palace is very tight-lipped when it comes to commenting about things that are happening in the public eye, particularly when it comes to tabloidy type stories. So they haven't commented on what's been revealed, whether to deny or confirm anything in the book.
When I interviewed the Finding Freedom authors, Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand, about the book, I asked them if they felt any parallel with Andrew Morton's famous Princess Diana book. They both said that Andrew Morton's book is considered, obviously, one of the great royal biographies. Now, the big difference is, after Princess Diana's death, we learned that the main source was, shockingly, Princess Diana herself, who had secretly recorded audio tapes that were then smuggled back and forth between the palace on a bicycle of one of her friends. And this was when we got the first glimpse into so much of her anguish, her eating disorder battles, her pained divorce and the affair between Camilla and Charles, her depression, throwing herself down the steps when she was pregnant. All of that is in that book that she kind of opened up her heart and bared her soul to share all of that with Andrew Morton.
Everyone I've spoken to, people who are close to the Princess of Wales, have assured me that the portrait is a fair, sympathetic and accurate one, and I stand by every word.
Diana agreed to speak with journalist Martin Bashir to set the record straight on the tabloid speculation about her marriage to Prince Charles.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
This was something Charles admitted to when questioned by journalist Jonathan Dimbleby about their marriage.
Do you try to be faithful and honourable to your wife when you took on the vow of marriage?
Yes, absolutely.
And you were?
Yes. Until it became irretrievably broken down.
Of course, Prince Charles, who is the future king, knows that he is not leaving that institution or that role, whereas it was a really different situation for Diana. First of all, she had been really manipulated into sitting in that chair, and secondly, she wasn't in the position Charles was to feel as though this was a forever attachment to the monarchy. And the Queen watched the interview, like millions of people around the world, and decreed effectively that the couple needed to divorce.
25 years after the interview, there's a current investigation accusing Bashir of allegedly manipulating Diana into speaking with him by falsifying documents to gain her trust.
If you flash forward to Finding Freedom, there's not that level of soul-bearing, but for the authors...
As footsteps, Harry and Meghan signed with New York-based Harry Walker Public Speaking Agency as they started to build their new empire. Their strategy was to reach a bigger audience, so they had their eye on becoming serious players in the media world.
They signed with Netflix for what is rumored to be a deal of $100 million.
There's still precious little information about what specifically is going to go on. So when you hear that there's a Netflix deal for Harry and Meghan, it takes about 10 seconds before people are like, oh, they're going to do a reality show.
But don't expect those Netflix productions to be season 3 of You starring Meghan Markle.
They're really establishing what they said from the start they wanted to establish, which is their own voice, carving out their own life, and allowing followers to see a side of them that perhaps we would not have seen any other way had they stayed in the senior royal family.
Some people have also pointed out that Netflix is the same outlet that produces The Crown, and that's a series that has caused some consternation within the royal family. They haven't all been pleased with their depiction and feel that so much has been fictionalized and that isn't clear to the public.
The Sussexes were a hot property and getting the money to match.
They signed a deal with Spotify for a rumored price tag of $30 million. And again, highlighting underserved voices and telling those stories that they think are missing from the landscape. Their first podcast is released in December. It includes James Corden, Elton John, and this will be a way for them to do storytelling and highlight voices that they feel are not being heard.
Should we start? No? Ladies first?
No, say it, because I think it sounds really nice with your accent.
Well, Archwell Audio.
It's a very short podcast. It's about 30 minutes, and it's generally well received. I think what people are dying for is more.
This is still during a period when they sort of have to expect that these deals and decisions will be under scrutiny by the palace.
Harry and Meghan really work together because they have the same passions. They're both very big on charity, on talking about causes that are important to them. That's really the backbone of their relationship and what bonded them.
Even at the beginning of the pandemic, the couple really wanted to make sure that they are out there, they are doing good. And on Easter Sunday, they joined the Angel Food Project in LA, donned their masks, and were out there giving food to people who needed it.
Archwell is the new foundation they create after they are forced to retire Sussex Royal.
At the core of Archwell's mission is Meghan and Harry's desire to spread kindness, do good work, do it in a way that has real impact.
They were stifled, to say the least, when they were within the royal realms. Now they're able to kind of throw off those constraints and be the heroes that I think they see themselves as being.
Of course, this summer saw the Black Lives Matter movement really come to the forefront in the United States. And that was something that Meghan and Harry were experiencing in Los Angeles. And after the death of George Floyd, Meghan gave an incredibly personal, heartfelt speech.
The only wrong thing to say is to say nothing. Because George Floyd's life mattered, and Breonna Taylor's life mattered, and Philando Castile's life mattered, and Tamir Rice's life mattered.
Meghan is the first woman of color to marry into the royal family in modern history. And we now know, too, that Meghan had personal experiences with racism during her time as a senior royal. And that, too, is something that I think she felt compelled to speak up about.
So I am sorry that in a way we have not gotten the world to the place that you deserve it to be.
So Meghan and Harry have a hugely delicate situation before them now, because the next choices they make are critical. If the next causes they align themselves with, or the next projects they take on seem cheesy or silly or self-serving or basically distasteful in any way, they will be ripped apart for it.
Coming up.
She had already suffered so much anguish as a royal that she was in a much more vulnerable place than any of us realized.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex may have been living their American dream since leaving the royal family, but it's also been a year where they have faced some very personal challenges. In July 2020, Prince Harry and Meghan went through a deeply personal and heartbreaking experience.
Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, has revealed she went through a miscarriage.
This is, of course, a horrific event in any woman's life.
Then in late November 2020, Meghan wrote an op-ed for the New York Times revealing the intimate details of the tragedy.
But she really brought us into the moment when she realized that she was losing her pregnancy.
Too often, women and their partners grieve all alone.
Harry, as being part of that experience, which is also a topic that doesn't get a lot of attention. You know, when people do talk about miscarriage, it's often the mother's experience, and we don't necessarily get to hear about that. It's a real loss for the dad, too.
At the point that she disclosed her miscarriage, she had already suffered so much anguish in her life as a royal that she was in a much more vulnerable place than any of us realized.
While contending with personal loss, Meghan also had a legal dispute against the Mail on Sunday.
The royal family's protocol really is to stay out of court and legal disputes. But Meghan and Harry have been very proactive.
Meghan sued the newspaper for publishing extracts of a private and confidential letter sent to her father, Thomas Markle, in August 2018, 3 months after her wedding to Prince Harry. Meghan was seeking damages from Associated Newspapers Limited for alleged misuse of private information, copyright infringement, and the breach of the Data Protection Act.
Lawyers for the paper are arguing parts of the Duchess's lawsuit should be thrown out.
We first learned about the existence of the letter when I interviewed 5 of Meghan's closest friends.
However, a hard copy of the letter was not given to People at the time of writing the article.
They needed to speak out so that they could set the record straight on the woman who they considered one of their dearest girlfriends, and they felt that she was not being portrayed accurately in the media, specifically in the British tabloids. And that's what they came to us to speak about. One of her friends referenced a letter that Meghan had written her father, Thomas, in which she had said, I really want us to be able to make peace. One of her friends said that there was a kind of a retort from Thomas, which is he replied and said, well, how about if we take a picture together? And her friend told me that's just not what Meghan would have wanted, asking for a photo op when the whole point of the letter was saying, let's leave the media out of this.
I've apologized 100 times for that.
Well, after our People magazine story came out, Thomas Markle felt that he hadn't had a chance to make his side known, and he felt that the spirit of the letter had not been captured by her friends, sort of paraphrasing it. So, to correct the record, he released the letter and the Daily Mail published it. So the Daily Mail then now claims that they have the right to share it because Thomas Markle had the right. He needed to defend himself against what her friends had told me.
Now they're believing it and thinking I'm saying a lot of things that I'm not saying.
The legal arguments that are being put about are that Meghan obviously wrote this saying that this is her copyright that has been taken away from her, but the newspaper group are arguing that she got help from aides and whether the copyright isn't in fact owned by Meghan.
Once you're involved in a lawsuit, you can potentially be called as a witness on the stand, and that is something that the royals have assiduously avoided through the years. Maybe she would be called to the stand. It'd be the first time in anyone's recent memory that we would see a senior royal on a witness stand.
And on February 11th, 2021, Meghan won her privacy case. However, there are still open issues to be decided with regard to the copyright claim, and there will still be a hearing to decide whether they will have to go to trial. Harry and Meghan were approaching their one-year anniversary in America when things took a turn.
A Valentine's Day surprise. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle announcing their baby news with this black and white snap.
This is just a huge moment for them in their union, and it kind of solidifies their love, their marriage, and their family.
I think, one, she wanted to have her second child in California and kind of give her child that life. That's very different from the birth of Archie.
Go Meghan and Harry. I am so rooting for them and their love. Like, go, go-giddy go.
Coming up.
Meghan and Harry sat down with Oprah Winfrey for an explosive interview.
This was the first time you'd really encountered this level of the royal family is imploding before our very eyes.
Harry's first year in America had been a test for them in every way. They knew that they had to start a new life away from the royal family to find their truth and happiness.
Both Harry and Meghan felt a bit stifled as part of the royal family. They couldn't say what they want. They couldn't do what they want. So in moving to America and starting their new life, they did take their voices back.
The couple will now share their story publicly, giving Oprah Winfrey their first interview since they stepped away from royal roles in the UK and moved to California last year.
She was one of the special guests at their wedding, and now Oprah has secured the interview that everybody wanted.
Oprah Winfrey is a good friend of the couple, and this is a relationship that we know Harry and Meghan turn to often, and a friendship that they rely upon.
Meghan decided to open up about stepping into life as a royal, her marriage, motherhood, and how she handled life under intense public pressure.
This is all forbidden. But those limits don't exist for Harry and Meghan anymore. And they've become much clearer in what their personal values are, and that they're willing to, draw a line in the sand about and say, like, this is what we're going to fight for. This is what matters to us.
According to reports, Buckingham Palace was caught off guard. They'd not been informed what was happening, which broke with royal protocol.
The palace had really no control over what was going to take place between Meghan, Harry, and Oprah.
On February 19th, 2021, the world stopped again for breaking news on Harry and Meghan.
A month earlier than planned, it is official. The Queen confirms the two are no longer working members of the royal family.
One of the real blows for Prince Harry in all of this will be losing his military responsibilities.
The Queen ultimately decreed that the so-called 1 foot in, 1 foot out arrangement was not going to work. In her view, if you're going to make deals with Spotify or Netflix, that then means that you cannot also represent the crown in an official capacity. With the eyes of the world watching, Meghan and Harry sat down with Oprah Winfrey for an explosive interview. Watching two members of the royal family speak with the kind of raw candor and emotional vulnerability that we saw in this interview was really arresting. I think one of the moments that was really sad was hearing Prince Harry say that his father, Charles, who also happens to be the future King of England, stopped taking his phone calls.
Charles had stopped communicating with Harry once he'd made the decision to step back as a senior royal.
For people who have followed this family for decades, it was stunning.
There were shocking revelations about Meghan's mental health and that she had contemplated suicide due to the pressure of life in the royal family.
I was suffering great emotional distress. I reached out for help from the institution. It wasn't supplied for me. And Harry sort of, watched all that and said, I'm not risking this could go the way things went for my mom. Hearing that Meghan had been on the verge of suicide, she speaks of being out at Royal Albert Hall, holding Prince Harry's hand, pregnant with her son Archie, looking stunningly beautiful. But we now know that the story behind those photos is that Meghan was afraid to be home alone that night because she was afraid she might self-harm.
There were serious allegations of racism against the royal family.
The moment in the interview that I think was the most jaw-dropping was when Meghan revealed that when she was pregnant with her son Archie, a member of the royal family had commented with concern about how dark their baby's skin would be.
This was the first time you'd really encountered this level of the royal family is imploding before our very eyes.
Would there be a response from the palace?
So one full day went by, no response. Another day went by, no response. And then on Tuesday, 2 days later, the Queen broke her silence. And in this statement, the Queen says that she recognizes that there were concerning issues raised in the interview, but she says that those issues are going to be handled privately.
So what kind of future will Harry and Meghan have now?
Meghan said, we're on the other side of this now. And she said, having come through it, it really feels like it's just the beginning for them. It's the beginning of their growing family with the addition of a baby girl and a sister for Archie.
So did Harry and Meghan achieve their American dream?
Despite the challenges of the past year, and there have been many, they have no regrets about their decision to leave. They have really flourished.
It was all worth it to them, and it was worth it for their family, and it was worth it for their son Archie to be able to raise him and to know that he is protected and safe.
They are living the lives that they always dreamed of. They're the happiest they've ever been. And I think that they're on cloud nine.